Let's talk contracts and legal agreements. What do you need? What do you not need? And what's really going to make a difference in your business? My name is Harrison Barron from growth-generators.com. We help MSPs with sales training and marketing. Before I get into today's video, I do have to mention one quick thing. I like this. I've boiled it down to one quick thing. There is a video description. It is packed with the Discord, super helpful links, MSP heroes, masterclasses, swipe files. It's just loaded with good stuff. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. I do try to change it up for a lot of the videos. So, hey, if you haven't been down there in a while, you might want to go creep down there and find some really good information. If you'd like to visit us online, growth-generators.com. So let's talk about legal agreements. What do you need? What do you not need? What's really important? I have a ton of notes here that I'm going to be referencing because there's just no way I could remember all of these. I like to be fully transparent in this, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on each and every single one of these. So, and before I get into any of this, I do want to do a nice little disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. If you're going to write these up, I would highly recommend going and finding legal counsel, whether that's a local lawyer in your area, a hopefully specific MSP or technology lawyer who can help you with this. Have it all reviewed. You can get some of these, you can get all of these. Do you need every single one? Absolutely not. But are there going to be some real gems in here? Absolutely. Number one, the most important, a master service agreement. This is the key to establishing the terms and conditions between you as the MSP and the client. This is super important. It's going to have your scope of services, your payment terms, confidentiality, liability, dispute resolution. So, hey, if you don't deliver how you're supposed to deliver it, what actually happens there? And then termination conditions, 30, 60, 90 days notice. This is the most important one. Now, if you're just starting out day one, you can get away with number two, a SLA, a service level agreement, because you're going to be providing services. Having a master service agreement is basically everything, and the SLA kind of bolts into that MSA. So your SLA, your service level agreement, is just like it sounds. It is your level of service that you are agreeing to as an MSP. Performance metrics. What happens if service failures occur, right? The expected quality of service that you're going to get, ticket turnaround times. These are all really important things that you need to be aware of. Once again, your master service agreement more than likely is going to have a bit in there for your service level agreement. Master service agreement, super important. If you don't have time to write one up, you don't have time to find one, there's going to be one available in Heroes. If there isn't, I think there is one already. And all of these are going to be available on Heroes. But additionally, you could start with your service level agreement. It is crazy, crazy important, and work towards building that master service agreement. It is super, super important. Number three, especially when you're doing project work, a statement of work, just like it sounds. It is what you are going to be doing. You are stating the work that is going to be performed. Specific tasks, deliverables, timelines, cost breakdown, super important. Project scope, milestones, deliveries, deliverables, all of that good stuff. When somebody says, hey, how long is this going to take? Or what are you actually doing for me? Well, we're doing this, 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 this. It's going to take this long. We expect this to happen. All of that is going to be involved in your statement of work. Super important. It is not a day one, and it's not going to be directly attached to your services that you're going to be offering. But if you're doing upgrades, a lot of one-off things should have a basic statement of work. Absolutely, positively. And all of these, by the way, cover your rear end and cover the client's rear end, because a contract in a weird way works for both parties. You want to make sure that you're satisfied, and the customer wants to make sure that they are satisfied. And this is the agreement between them both. It is really important to understand that contracts can be designed to screw over one of the parties or something of that nature. And there's no other fancier way I could say it. It's really, they can be designed in that way. But these legal agreements, these contracts, you have to think about as a agreement between you, what you're going to be providing to the customer, and the customer can expect that for the thousands of dollars that they are going to be spending in there. Number four, If you need one, a non-disclosure agreement. This could be with your clients. This could be with your employees. Having an NDA is not the worst thing in the world. You are going to be dealing with very sensitive information. Credit cards, sometimes people's information. Because for you people that enjoy the Alphabet Club, HIPAA, there are so many things that can go wrong. There should be a non-disclosure agreement that outlines the definition of a confidential. It defines the confidential information, what can happen, what can't happen, and where that data can go. It is super important, especially if you're getting into the Alphabet Club. It's probably not the worst thing to have. That basically says, hey, we are not going to do anything with your information. You can trust us, Scouts honor, all that good stuff. Clients want that. Genuinely. And you're taking on a huge responsibility going into their environment. Take it seriously. An NDA is not the worst thing to have. Worst comes to worst, you never have to enforce it. Perfect. But if you do have to enforce it or let people know, hey, we do have an NDA, take things seriously. I have plenty of NDAs out there. It's okay to have an NDA. Just don't go running your mouth. And it's that simple. And don't get your client's information spilled out on the dark web. Number 5, a data processing agreement. Ensures compliance with data processing regulations. An example, GDPR. Now, for my United States people, GDPR, not so important. For my European people, GDPR is pretty darn important. You have to have, in one way or another, a data processing agreement. What are you going to do with the data, the details of the data, how you're going to measure the data, the rights of the data subjects. All of that is important to have, depending on where you actually are in the world. Next is going to be an acceptable use policy. We're at 6, by the way. Sets guidelines for acceptable use of MSP services by clients. Now, this is something I haven't seen too often, but I have seen people talk about an acceptable use policy. And the key things that it does is basically prohibits activities, user responsibilities, and consequences of violations. Most of the time, this is going to be outlined in your MSA, your master service agreement. But hey, some people like documents, and this is another one out there. Next is going to be, especially if you're selling software or you have a proprietary software, a end user license agreement. Governs the use of software provided by the MSP. For example, if the MSP is providing the software, it basically says, hey, you can't just go grab the license codes and throw that all over the place. Can't go install it on all your home PCs, whatever it might be. Is granting the license, what's acceptable versus what's not acceptable, termination conditions, all of that good stuff. Number 8, if you're not bringing everything in-house, you need or should have a subcontractor agreement. This subcontractor agreement outlines the terms for the subcontractor working for you, the MSP. What are they going to do? What are they not going to do? What are they responsible for? All of that good stuff. It is nothing bad. Once again, it sets the expectations for you as the MSP subbing out to somebody else. It happens all the time. Not everybody can do all the work that they want to do in-house. Normal. Have a subcontractor agreement. And once again, it's designed to protect you as the MSP, and it's designed to protect them. They know what they have to do. You know what you have to do. You know what both parties are actually responsible for. I cannot stress it enough. A lot of these are to cover your butt and to cover your client's butt. And you have to go into this. It might not be the worst thing in the world to bring all of these to your lawyer and say, hit me with the bill. Let's go through every single one of these. Because at some point, you're going to need legal counsel to review these legal contracts, documents, all of that good stuff. Next is going to be a confidentiality agreement. This helps keep information confidential. It's slightly different than an NDA. It defines the confidential information, the obligations, the durations, and what is actually excluded from the information. Most people will do some kind of confidentiality agreement or an NDA. It is rare to see both, but it's not a bad idea to know what they both are. Are you going to need both? Probably not. May you use both? Possibly. But I got my list. I spent a couple hours sitting here making this for you and checking it twice to make sure I didn't miss anything. And if I did miss anything and you've made it this far out of this excruciatingly adrenaline pumping video, I hope you've hit that like button, that subscribe button, and notification video. This is exactly how I wanted to end a Friday. So after that, we have a vendor supplier agreement. This one's super easy. More than likely, you're going to be getting this from Ingram, from Pax 8, from Carbon Systems, whomever it might be. But it is a vendor supplier agreement. It manages the relationships with third-party vendors or suppliers. Whoever's supplying you that, they're more than likely going to give you this. Now, you might be a different type of company or a company that's really big. Fantastic. You may have one of these for other MSPs. Maybe you buy it wholesale. Maybe you do enough volume to get better deals and they want to buy through you. You basically can pass that down. I would highly recommend writing a new one, but you can have a vendor supplier agreement. Or heck, maybe you make really, really good custom computers, something totally unique the market hasn't seen. This is another great example. If you're selling to other businesses that are going to resell your stuff, it's not a bad idea to have it. Now, if you're sending to the end user, different story. This is not where this would fit, although it can in some cases, but for the most part, it's going to be coming from one of the big suppliers to you as the MSP so you can sell their stuff. Normal stuff. Maintenance and support agreement. This is kind of one if you aren't ready to take the full leap of faith into an MSA and an SLA. I've seen people talk about it. I wanted to make sure I included it on here, but it details ongoing maintenance, what's actually included, what's not included in there. But the next one, a change management policy, is important. Now, you may at some point go through the process of having this. A change management policy might be an addendum to your MSA or your SLA. It basically just says, hey, things are changing. We need you to sign this. Instead of going through a full MSA and having them to send it over to their lawyers, you can say we're changing this policy, this policy, this policy. It is a change management policy and what is actually going to be changing in the services and the infrastructure that you are officially providing. Number 13, good old lucky 13. I did this one on purpose. Disaster recovery and business continuity plan. Just like you are helping, these contracts are helping you cover your butt and covering the client's butt. What if things go south? Having a business continuity plan that the client is aware about is a good thing. You can kind of use the same one, especially if you pick niches across the board. Totally normal, especially if you're going to be rolling out the same software stack and the same hardware stack across the board. That's totally cool. But having a business continuity plan is important, especially when it comes to, you guessed it, insurance. They are going to want to know that if something happens, you have concrete evidence to say, we have a business continuity plan in place. This is what we can go through and do. I promise you, it might not be a document you want on day one, but it might be a document you want as early as possible, especially if you're requiring or you're getting insurance and your clients and you're asking them to get insurance. You will need this document. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but having something that says, if a meteor strike happens at 9 o'clock at night when nobody's in the building and all of the information's gone, what happens next? Defining that plan instead of saying, hey, we got this, is a big deal, a very big deal for insurance. They want to make sure that you have some kind of plan or they may not pay out for the policies. Now, I did do a video on this previously with Joe Brunsman from the Brunsman Insurance Group. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. It is an adrenaline pumping 1 hour long video about IT and MSP insurance. It's loaded with information. I am pumped to have Joe back. I think he's going to be a regular guest here, but I would love for you to go check out that video because this is now something where you really want to cover your own butt. I cannot stress it enough. This one, very important. Left it at number 13 because good old lucky 13. Number 14 is a cybersecurity policy. You've probably dealt with this already. I probably don't need to go any deeper into it, but you need to have a cybersecurity policy that delegates or dictates the cybersecurity information, how you're going to deal with it, all of that good stuff in one document. especially if you're dealing with cybersecurity and that is one of your main focuses. You definitely want to have a cybersecurity policy. Now, if you're building websites, you're providing proprietary stuff, you want to have an intellectual property agreement. Who owns what? If you sell somebody the website, or you sell your website services, or you sell software to somebody, do they own the license? Do they own the software? Do they own the license? Are they allowed to modify it? Do you own the rights to the intellectual property? An intellectual property agreement is really, really important. Us as MSPs, super smart people. We probably created something that might be ours. That intellectual property agreement dictates who actually owns it and how they're going to be buying it and how that transaction officially happens. Are they licensing the information? Are they buying that version of the data? Super important to have. Not for everybody, but once again, important to have. And last but not least, number 16, and if I've missed anything until now, please, please, please let me know down in the comments. If you're like, Harrison, I think you should have added this one. Let me know. These are the 16 that I've seen across the board, what I've had to deal with in the past, what other MSPs have had to deal with in the past. I think I got every single one of them without going crazy. Once again, legal documents and legal contracts. The most important thing, you will need this after you bring on a new client, is a termination agreement. What happens? What does that look like? Now, to a degree, your MSA is going to have that, your master service agreement, and we'll probably have several of these different areas in there. They don't all need to be their own standalone documents, although they can be. A termination agreement is what happens when the client is done with you, or you are done with the client. Once again, mutually beneficial partnership here, hopefully. Things do go wrong. What happens then? Does it end completely? Does it not end completely? Where does it go? What can the client do to leave the contract? And what can you do to leave the contract? Because if the client is super unhappy, just because they signed a 3-year agreement, you don't want them going out and bashing your name out there. It's better to just cut the ties and let it go. Same thing. That client might be ruining your business. They are slamming your help desk with support. Your MSA isn't that strong. Your SLA might not be that strong. The termination agreement gets you out of certain things. You might say, hey, we are firing you. We have a 90-day notice to offboard you, and you have 90 days to go find another MSP to take over. Whatever it might be, having this is super important. Out of all these documents, this is probably the 4th or 5th most important behind your MSA, your SLA, probably an NDA in there, maybe a subcontractor agreement, and last but not least is that termination agreement. What happens so that way both parties know and how the information is going to be delivered. Super important. Text, email, phone call. Something preferably on paper that could be tracked, certified mail, smoke signal with video resources. I'm just kidding on that one, but you do really want to make sure that if you you might be super excited, you're going to get tons of money. They're going to be paying you 10 bands per month. And you're like, this is the best. And then all of a sudden they are the worst thing in the world. And there is no amount of money that could make it worth it. This contract or this legal agreement will save your butt and make you have more hair. Seems to be a reoccurring thing on this channel. I love the heck out of you all. I hope you guys have found some value on this one. This was definitely the way I wanted to kick off a Friday. Absolute rager of a video. I am just kidding. It is super important that you guys know all this. If you've made it this far, for the sake of the algorithm and my sanity, I'm begging you. Only video I've ever begged on, but I'm begging you, please hit the like button. If you really love me, subscribe button too, and notification bell. But this one was one I was trying to avoid for a long time, and it came to the decision where I needed to make it. So if you've made it this far, I appreciate the heck out of you. You are a real one. You know who you are. Check out the video description, masterclasses, all the good stuff. All of these will be available, by the way, in the membership we have called MSP Heroes. If you are interested in getting the fast track to them, we are aggressively working on them. So by the time you see this, they may already be in there. Other than that, love the heck out of you guys. You guys already know that, but I need to tell you guys every single time, and I will see you guys on the next video. Till then,